So for those of you coming on, can you just let me know if you can hear me okay? Hello everyone, good to see you. I always want to check that you can hear me and see me okay. Hi Jackie, good to see you. You're up late. I hope you're all well. No, Lottie, it's an hour earlier today because it's school holidays, so I've got to collect my daughter later on. Excellent, you can all hear. Yeah, so it's an hour earlier than normal. It may always stay at this time if this time is better, but it usually is an hour later. Okay, good to see you all. All right, I had some questions that were submitted. This is for high conflict co-parenting specifically. Okay, I had some questions submitted, so I'm going to go through those as normal. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment box below. Try and keep it to a sentence if you can so that I can read it. Hello, Kay got pots, so sorry. In South Africa, good to see you. I think it must be quite late there as well. Good to see you all. So if you have a question, just please put it in the comment box below. Anything to do with high conflict co-parenting. If you're subscribed to my emails, you would have seen that the Coparenting Club is now live. And the call is going to be on the 19th if you are in the US, or the 20th if you're in Australia, or depending where you are. But the link to that is in my bio. So I'm going to go through some of the questions. Hello, hello, hello. So somebody asked here, and this is to do with new supply. If his new fiance has a restraining order on me, then how do we co-parent? So I don't see how a restraining order affects how you co-parent, because the restraining order isn't between you and your high conflict co-parent. It is between you and the fiance. Now, if it means you can't go to the home to collect your children, then you need to find a place that is halfway, a neutral location to do pickups and drop-offs. So that's something you need to discuss with your high conflict co-parent. Okay, the fact that there is a restraining order in place shouldn't affect how you co-parent unless you have to go to the home, but obviously you can't go to the home. So in lieu of that, you meet somewhere like a police station or a McDonald's for pickup and drop-offs. I don't know if you have court orders in place, but maybe that could be written in. Okay, so I hope that helps. That was for Quashona. Nicoletta asked a question. We know each other from Facebook. It's not to do with high conflict co-parenting, but I'm just going to answer it now because high conflict co-parenting can be heavy and it's a fun question. And she said, what's one of your most favorite places in the world? And my answer to that is I don't really have a favorite place in the world. As long as I have my creature comforts and my favorite people around me, a tea, access to lattes and wine, a pool and nature and cocktails, and my partner and my children, I'm happy. I could be anywhere in the world. I don't have a favorite location, and that's how I feel about home as well. Like, I'm from the UK, but I live in Australia and I've been here like over 20 years. It doesn't matter where I am. I can make anywhere home, so it doesn't matter. That was just a bit of a different question, bit of a fun question. So I hope that helped, Nicoletta. Someone asked advice on setting boundaries before baby is born. I don't want to end up in court. So the answer to this is no amount of boundaries or no boundaries are going to influence the decision whether you end up in court or not. If you're dealing with a high conflict person, it likely will end up in court. There's nothing that you can say or do to avoid that sometimes. So rather than trying to control the outcome, yes, get your boundaries in place now before the child is born, most definitely, so that you set the tone for the rest of the co-parenting relationship, okay? Don't do it with the intention of trying to avoid court, because you're going to end up very disappointed. I'm not saying that it's definitely going to end up in court, but nothing you say or do is going to change that or fix it or influence it. But, you know, ending up in court isn't also a bad thing sometimes. Sometimes a third party does need to be used to decide and determine where your children, or the parenting orders that are in place. Yes, the system is, excuse my French, fucked, but as long as you have documented evidence, as long as you start the relationship now, before the child is born, with your cast iron boundaries in place, and set the tone for the parenting arrangements, maybe do that informally yourself if you don't want to involve lawyers or the courts, this person, your high conflict ex, will have to be on board with that. But I would seek some legal advice around that, because it depends where you are in the world as well. Okay, somebody has asked, ex-partner has taken our 3 boys to live with him. I have our 2 girls, and it's soul destroying. There's no question there, this statement. But yes, splitting up children is never really a good idea. Obviously, he took the boys because, they're the golden children, and the girls are possibly the scapegoat. Maybe he sees them as more similar to you, harder to coerce, possibly, but he's likely trying to make mini-me's out of your sons. I don't know if you have a relationship with your boys, but becoming that influential parent is a lot harder when you don't have access to your children, obviously, but it depends if you have any visitation in place. Anti-Court asked a question, when did you know you had to leave? So, sorry about that. When did you know you had to leave? Does anybody have any input on this one? No one can tell you when the right time is. If you're asking the question, it's likely overdue. For me personally, if that's the question, if you're asking for me personally, or if you want some guidance, like for me personally, it just got too unbearable. The life that I wanted to live was not the life that I was having, so my need and urge for freedom overshadowed everything else, and I didn't know how I was going to make it work, but I made it work. Okay, and that's kind of what we have to do. It's like taking that leap of faith and trusting that you will be caught. Okay, because staying stuck does nothing, it changes nothing, and you just get more of the same. So I'd love to hear maybe from you guys here on the live when you knew it was time to leave. But yeah, it just became unbearable for me personally, and my freedom meant a lot and means a lot to this day. Also, and this is a question I got on YouTube, children learn from us as their parents, their first teachers. They learn a lot from what we don't do as well. It's not just what we do and the actions that we take. They learn from what we do not do as well, which is, not setting boundaries, not realizing your worth, not seeking out a better life. And that's not to bash anyone. It's just that children pick up on a lot more than we think, and they learn more about what's not said as well. Lottie said, conversation change, nothing, no growth. Yeah, I agree. Someone else's question here was, my narcissistic ex is taking me round when it comes to parental responsibility agreement, what to do. I think that's maybe is... I'm not sure what that question is actually. Maybe taking you to court, or trying to teach you what parental responsibility is, what to do. Seek legal advice on that. But also, I wouldn't listen to someone who is not somebody I would pay to be my mentor, or someone who I don't envy their life. So if your high conflict ex is trying to tell you how to parent, I mean, unless they are an excellent parent, and unless you would happily pay them to be your mentor because they live the life that you want to lead, I would disregard anything they say, because it's just BS and they're skewed reality. So I hope I answered that question. It just wasn't really worded well for me to read that. Another question that I got, and that was this morning, and it's a bit of a tough one. Oh, sorry. Brenda, I didn't want my daughter to think that my relationship with her father was normal. I never wanted her to experience what I went through. Yeah, I think you're Helen. Good to see you, Helen. Yeah, we set an example from what we do and what we don't do. If your children see what's going on, they don't know an alternate reality. So that is what relationships are like. This is how it works. They learn. This is how we communicate with each other. This is how we show love. This is how we argue. This is how we deal with conflict. They are learning all these things from us, the other parent and you. Now, if you take yourself out of the equation and get yourself into a healthy environment, a narc-proof home, I call it, which is your home, which is your peaceful bubble, your safe space, then you get to instill those values in your children and you get to teach them. And yes, it is parallel parenting, because whatever happens over there happens over there. What happens in your home is fully within your control, and you can influence that. Okay, so yeah, I like that, Helen. That's exactly it. Hi, Patana. Good to see you. So another question here that somebody asked in my Facebook community was resources, books, and parenting tips to help children that have been parentified, enmeshed, and codependent on the high conflict narc ex who is a covert. Okay. Part of that can be resolved within the Coparenting Club. If you join the Coparenting Club, that's exactly what we do within the club. However, there's no parenting tip. A tip is something that you can apply once and it solves a problem. Tips don't work when you deal with a high conflict ex. You don't need tips, you need strategies and you need tools. It's really hard to explain to an adult even about parentification and enmeshment. It's a hard concept. It's not easy for people to get it, so you can't expect a child to understand. You're going to need the right language. And age appropriate. I'm not sure how old your children are. Also about codependency. So resources and books, that's probably something you can Google. Parenting tips to help. You know, within the Parenting Club, that's what we go through, supporting your children, protecting your children. It starts with you. Okay, but in terms of tips, like people do often ask for tips. Tips don't do anything. Tips don't solve the problem. Tips are for something quick and something easy. There's nothing quick and easy about high conflict co-parenting and protecting ourselves and protecting our children. And it would be nice if it was that simple. It would be easy, but that's why there are high conflict co-parenting coaches as myself. You know, there'll be no need for a coach if it was simple and easy, and as simple and easy as a tip. I hope that makes sense. Someone here, the new fiance has a restraining order in place. How do you... Yes, I did answer that earlier, Quishona. You meet in a neutral location. The restraining order shouldn't really affect how you co-parent with your high conflict ex. Pick up and drop off should happen not at his home then. It should be a neutral place. But you're saying, how do I maneuver and still be a good mum and support my children? She comes to all soccer games and rides with my ex to drop my children off. Well, if there's a restraining order in place, are you the one that's breaching that if she's in the car? I'm not sure how that works. If she's in the car knowing that she has a restraining order in place, go into your home, I don't understand how that makes sense. If she goes to the soccer games, she is then in your space. I'm not sure what the distance is that you have to be apart, but yeah, you are the mum, so you should be there. She shouldn't be there, especially if she has a restraining order in place. I don't know why she would be there if she's in fear of her safety. I mean, obviously we know that she isn't, but that's my response to that. Find a neutral location and definitely speak to your high conflict ex to find a neutral location and word and email to him that due to the restraining order, it's advisable that your fiance isn't with you. Let's just keep the pick up and drop offs to us so that it doesn't complicate things. Obviously, if he's high conflict, he's probably not going to listen to that, but at least you have it documented if anything comes back to say that you've breached the restraining order. Melinda, his adult son said our relationship was toxic and he said it would eventually cause our son I'm not sure what your question is, Melinda, sorry. Somebody says, I don't feel safe going to support my children if she is there with a restraining order in place. Yeah, and it's her. She's the one that has a restraining order in place, just to be clear on that. But yes, join the Coparenting Club questioner, because that is what we navigate within the club as a group, and also my tailor-made support for you dealing with these specific situations. Like I've said before, there's no one line, one comment I can say that's going to all of a sudden make a light bulb go off. With these challenges, it's more like spending time. There's lots of challenges, but you work on one at a time, you clear that, then you work on the next, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. If you try and navigate everything at once, it is overwhelming, and then nothing gets done. And then you feel trapped and stuck. You're very welcome. You're welcome, Kashana. Hot Yoga MV, my partner's high conflict ex just told their 19-year-old daughter that if she meets me, we've been together for 10 months, that their relationship will be ruined forever. Well, if the daughter's 19, she can think for herself. And if she wants to, then she can. And if their relationship is ruined forever, why is that a bad thing? I don't see that as a bad thing. Yeah. And if it is ruined, it's the high conflict ex is doing, not the daughter's doing. So it's teaching her that she can make her own decisions. She's an adult now. And if the consequence is that she doesn't have a relationship with someone who is toxic and abusive, then I don't see that as a bad thing. But I don't know the details of your situation, but I can't see that as a bad thing. Their sweet daughter is so confused as to handle this situation because her mum told her that she's setting a boundary and it will be the ultimate betrayal. Yeah, well, of course, the mum saying that your daughter or your partner's daughter needs to study up on abusive personality types and high conflict personality types, and also know the behavioral traits of someone who is manipulative, someone who gaslights, someone who is abusive and toxic, even if it is a parent. She needs to educate herself on what she's going through. You can't really tell her. It's more like dropping the crumbs and letting her pick them up and join the dots herself. So I hope that helped. And the last question here, somebody asked, it was a couple of Q&As ago. Sorry. And this person said, what motivates you to put so much positive energy and inspiration into your posts? So I'm generally a positive and upbeat person despite shit that goes on in my life. I'm an optimistic person, but more importantly, I have sorted out my high conflict co-parenting. Yes, it doesn't just go away, but I have things in place so that I can actually live my life. I wouldn't be able to help all these other women had I not had that in place, because every time I hear of a problem or a challenge or somebody's in my DMs, I would be triggered. And I'm not triggered because I have sorted out that side of my life. I've done my work. You must do your work. And when you have capacity, when you have sorted out certain areas, it doesn't all get sorted at once. You do one thing at a time, then you put that away. And then, of course, there's another challenge. So then you put that away and you sort that out and you apply the tools and strategies that I teach you within the Co-Parenting Club. And then you have more capacity. You have the emotional space. You have the brain power to actually think about other things and actually live in your life instead of being a prisoner, a continual prisoner of this person or of this situation. So how I'm able to inspire is because I have capacity to. I've sorted out these things. I know if I can do it, other people can as well, and that's what I teach you. Okay, and I hope that kind of answers the question. Desi, it's great that you are so calm and knowledgeable. Yeah. Calm, it's work though. You do the work, you get to this place. It's not like all of a sudden I woke up and was able to do all this. I had to go through the shit. I have been in the trenches. I am in the trenches, but I I have lots of high conflict co-parents because I help my clients with that and navigating those relationships. And yeah, it just wouldn't be possible if I didn't have that side sorted. But I'm not saying it's sorted, it's not a problem, I just live my life and dance off into the sunset. There are always issues, there are always things that come up, as we know, but I just navigate them. I have my tools and I just sort that shit out. Big Island Sis, how do you join the Co-Parenting Club? If you go to the link in my bio, Big Island Sis, there's a limited time offer. Click the link in my bio and I think it's the second or third option down. It says join the Co-Parenting Club. Literally join the Co-Parenting Club. I teach you all of these things, sorting out all this shit basically. And it might seem like simple things, but if you can scratch one thing off the list, then you have another thing and then you can scratch that off the list. But step by step, I work with you and give you that tailor-made support and also training, additional training within the Co-Parenting Club with women just like you and just like me. But instead of just me, you have everybody who actually understands. So you don't have to over-explain or go into great detail. We get it, we understand. It's like we're all in it. And although all of our high conflict exes are different people with different personalities, they follow the same patterns of behavior. Okay? This is why everyone resonates with my posts and everything I say and other posts from other people, because they all follow the same patterns of behavior. Yes, there are different nuances, and yes, they have other things specific to their personalities, and yes, there might be grey areas, but all of the challenges when you share children with somebody of this nature are very similar. Okay, so go to the link in my bio, limited time offer to join the Co-Parenting Club, and all the details are there. If anyone has a question about the Co-Parenting Club or anything else I offer, and you're not sure which way to go, send me a DM with the word co-parent and I'll be able to direct you to the right place. Melinda, we still live together. Should I tell him that I'm moving out or should I just leave? I feel like you probably know the answer to that. There are two things that can happen. You tell him, he's going to try and stop you. He's going to try and guilt you. He's going to try and talk about going to therapy. He's going to ramp up the abuse. If you just leave, you are gone. Freedom. Make of that what you will, but I don't know why you would give anyone the courtesy when they are who they are, when they haven't done that for you either. Yes, hot yoga, MV. Just leave. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell people whether to go or not. You know what's best for you, but weigh up the both options and see what you, how you envision your life. A good question to ask yourself is, I've done this for X amount of years. Do I want another X amount of years of this? Or do I want a different outcome? If you want a different outcome, this applies to anything, you're going to have to do something different. That's just how it works. And somebody said just leaving is always the best option. Yeah, and it's hard. It is hard for people to leave. There's a good friend of mine who has been struggling for 18 months to 2 years, back and forth. She knows what I do. And I never say what to do. I always just give the options and give impartial support, because you arrive at these decisions when you are ready to, but you really have to make informed decisions. And you need to make an informed decision as to whether to stay. Does it compel you to stay and put up with that for another 3, 4, 5, 10, 30 years? Likely not. These are the questions. And that's what I do as a coach. Like, I support my clients. You want to be over here. How can we get there? Okay. And yes, Desi James, good point. Think of your safety when you're leaving. Absolutely. They always say that that is the most dangerous time. Even if your high conflict ex has never been physically abusive, definitely take heed of that, because don't assume that just because someone hasn't been physically abusive that they won't or can't. And we know that physical abuse, it doesn't even have to be physically abusive for you to feel intimidated, for you to feel scared, for you to be in fear. Okay. All right, that's it for questions. Unless you have another question, I'll give you another minute to just write that in if you do. But overall, if you're not sure what to do and you do struggle with boundaries or limiting abuse or protecting your children, protecting yourself, join the Co-Parenting Club. If you're not sure which way to go, send me a DM with the word co-parent and I'll have a quick chat with you to see what your options are. Okay, but other than that, the Co-Parenting Club, it's a limited time offer. The link to that, link to join is in my bio. And yeah, come join the fun. All right, so take care of yourself, and I hope you have a beautiful day or evening wherever you are. Jackie, sleep well. You can get to bed now. And I will see you next week for High Conflict Co-Parenting Q&A. And yeah, take care. I'll see you soon. Night, Jackie. See you. I'll speak to you next week. Okay. Bye. You're welcome, Helen. Bye-bye. Oh, just before I finish as well, I have a YouTube channel. I've not promoted it or said anything, but head over there. I'll be doing more stuff over there as well. And there will be a podcast coming at some point, but yeah, just got a lot of things going on at the moment. But I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.